My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be L.M. Montgomery, Video 22, Testimonials, Part 1. So here is my novel, L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield. This is a photo of the historical L.M. Montgomery, the author of Anne of Green Gables, about the year, 1938. In 1938, with another world war looming and her own personal problems threatening to overwhelm her, acclaimed Canadian author Ellen Montgomery begins to write what she has decided will be her final Anne novel. As she works on the new book, she recalls the days when Anne of Green Gables became a worldwide literary phenomenon and the dilemma that she faced at that time. The dilemma was whether to write a series of novels in which Anne would perpetually remain the child the world had come to know and love, or to allow Anne to grow to adulthood with all the agonizing torments of the one who had given her life, L.M. Montgomery. Now, in my novel, L.M. Montgomery is an author in 1938 writing her new novel. She's a character in my novel who is writing her novel. The novel that she's writing in 1938 will turn out to be, by the end of my novel, Anne of Ingleside. While she's writing that novel, she's thinking of the first novel she wrote with Anne as a character, which was Anne of Green Gables. Okay? Now, a reader of my notebooks and my journals might think that they've caught me in a contradiction. Often in my journals and notebooks, I say that every word of the text of a novel or novella of mine is an image in the mind of the main character. So the question might be asked, how then does the main character know what other people are saying about him or her? Especially when in some of the author's novels and novellas, the main character is spoken about as having died. Well, before I give you an explanation of what seems to be contradictory claims, I will read 4 of the 7 testimonials in the novel. I call them testimonials, which is a fancy word for one person speaking about another. In this novel, each of the minor characters is speaking about the main character, L.M. Montgomery. So let's go to Chapter 2, page 14 for the first one. This is a minor character speaking about L.M. Montgomery and what purports to be a novel with only the thoughts of L.M. Montgomery in it. Here it is. Mrs. Montgomery is a writer? Well, all I can tell you is that she always wrote in her bedroom. That was where she did all her living, all her writing and all her banking and everything else that was important, you see. The rest of the house was out there in the world. Occasionally the bedroom door would be open to get a cross breeze in the heat, and she'd be writing at her desk or sometimes pecking away at the typewriter keys. He'd be lying on the bed, a handkerchief around his head, still as death. And she would never make a sound, as if she was absorbed, don't you see, as writers do. But she was aware that I was there, dusting the fixtures in the hall, and she'd call me to the door and say, "Oh, don't forget to go buy ice cream for the cake," or some such thing. But no, she never shared her writing thoughts with me. So that's the first testimonial. Let's go to the second one that I'm going to read. Chapter 4, page 30. Thoughts of a minor character about the main character in a novel in which every thought is a thought in the mind of the main character. Here's another one. Her eldest son was a holy terror. Yes, Chester, the oldest son. She put up with a lot from him, if you ask me, more than a parent should, as if ignoring it would make it go away. Well, we all know what that becomes of a plan like that. He grew bolder as he got older. I overheard him challenge his dad. Where I come from, a boy would always fear the belt. Petty thievery, I would call it. Things would be missing from the house. No, I was never accused. No, never once. She knew. I knew she knew. Like that time that was intolerable. I had to protect my little girl. I told her I didn't trust her son to know how to behave. Well, she didn't want to believe, but it was all there on her face. She just couldn't say out loud that she agreed. Well, this was the one I couldn't live with. I had to protect my little girl. I'd always enjoyed working there. Mrs. Montgomery was good to me. I gave notice that I would leave. She said she was sorry to see me go, but her face was saying, what else am I going to do? Okay, and then there's a couple more. Let me turn a page here. Oops. Here we are. Page 46. This is a minor character talking about Ellen Montgomery. The CAA, Canadian Authors Association. I'm a member of it now, and she was a member. Ellen Montgomery was a member in the 1930s. Look, the CAA should be reserved for serious writers. Ellen Montgomery is certainly not one of those. She's writing entertainment for childish minds. She writes about orphan girls who feel so alone till they get themselves adopted, and then all is sunny and fine. So she sells her stuff in the thousands to readers all over the world. Serious literature cannot be a concoction of sunshine and charm. Lighten up King Lear and see what you get. It was an embarrassment to have her on the executive. I organized a vote that swept the old girl out. Okay, and then one more, page 62. Here it is. Again, a minor character talking about the main character. Her husband has caused her a lot of grief, always bringing things down on her head. He got himself involved in an auto accident one time with another minister of the cloths, if you can believe. Two old duffers who didn't know where they were going, and they met right smack in the middle of the road. Well, they ended up suing each other, made all the papers for miles around, ended up splitting the whole community. Everybody chose a reverend and dug in their heels. The who was right and the who was wrong. Hated each other with Christian fervor. Methodist against Presbyterian, Presbyterian against Methodist, brother against brother, father against son. And some of the families have practically amounted to civil war. Went on for months and years, everybody crowding into the courthouse, taking a turn on the witness stand. Two old duffers who shouldn't have been let behind the wheel. What a time her husband gave her. Wasn't the first time, wasn't the last. Their whole life together is quite the merry dance. I'll bet she regrets the day she made her vows. Okay, and then on to my note. Okay, that's the four that I wanted to read in this presentation. Here's my note. So, what possible explanation could I make to get myself out of this seeming jam? Number one, of having said in my notebooks and my journals that every word in a novel of mine is an image in the mind of the main character. And then number two, including testimonials of people who speak about the main character behind her back, as it were, even addressing what is obviously other people, since these characters talk about the main character in the third person. Well, what I would say is this. We don't necessarily know what other people think of us unless they tell us so. But I think it's a common human practice to not only wonder what other people think about us, but to imagine what they think about us, even to the point of making up imaginary dialogues or monologues in which we imitate these people's speech habits and mimic what we assume are the attitudes that these people have towards us, even using whatever information we assume these people would use as the proof that what they're saying is true. Now, whether we think these people are accurate or even fair is another matter. Here we have a number of people speaking about L.M. Montgomery in what in a realistic novel would actually be the words of these minor characters, but in this novel might or might not be an accurate approximation of their thoughts, their attitudes, the probable words of these characters in a single character novel, one in which every word of the novel is an image in the mind of the main character. Now, in this novel, the reader can wonder a number of things. Number one, does the main character believe that these are the things that her acquaintances are actually saying about her, or would say about her if they were asked? Or, number two, does the main character imagine what other people think in order to reject these opinions as inaccurate and unfair? Subsequently, we can ask whether such a practice is detrimental or helpful to the main character in sorting out her problems and figuring out a way forward in her personal, social, and literary life. These questions move this novel to another plane. Why would a person write a novel in which all of these questions can be asked, but in which none of these questions can be answered except as possibilities by a reader of this novel? What would be the use of such a novel as that? Well, here it is. L.M. Montgomery, I Gave You Life, a novel by John Passfield, is found on Amazon. You can have a look there if you want more information. It's found on my publisher's website, roxmillspress.com. On my website, there are 2 books for free. Just click on the icon and you'll get them. One's the planning notebook, in which I planned and wrote the novel and kept records. The other is a reflective journal, in which I reflected not only on the topics of the novel, but on all kinds of topics that the novel raises in one's mind as one reads it. And that book is free as well. That's my website, johnpassfield.ca. And lastly, thank you for watching this video.